Hi, I'm Josh Cadillac, and welcome to my podcast, Know Your Shit. I've been blessed to see great success, as well as seeing the bottom up close and personal in 2008. And if there's one lesson I've learned, is that if you want to have success and differentiate yourself from everyone else out there, you need to know your shit. As a successful real estate and crypto investor and an educator, it drives me insane that people do not immerse themselves in their craft. Everyone is so busy advertising and testing new sales techniques, they forget the most important thing, the product. Here I want to talk to the folks that got this right, the most successful people in the world in every industry. Bring them to you and find out what they learned in their business that made it great. When you listen to my podcast, you will know for sure that the topics and experts we have on have one thing in common. They know their shit. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us to be excellent. My name is Josh Cadillac, and I'll be in the driver's seat once again for today's show as we strive to stop doing just deals and start closing customers for life. So we got a great show for you today, and without further ado, let me introduce an amazing guest that we have for you here today, Mr. Sean Herrero. Sean, thanks so much for being with us, buddy.
No, thanks for having me, Josh.
So, Sean, let me ask you, this is probably easier for you to answer than for me to try to do a halfway job of that, trying to answer myself. Tell everybody what it is you do.
Yeah, so I'm a mortgage lender in California. I've been helping people buy homes or refinance for about 20 years now. And I just take a different approach, but that's basically what I do, is help people get into that home ownership place that they may want to be in their life.
Good stuff. What got you started doing that, Sean?
I think I just fell into it. So I was 19 years old, wanted to be a game warden, like an animal cop out here. And I was going to school for that, and then realized maybe I'll just go camping instead. Moved home, was like, God, I'm 19. I should have it figured out what I want to do with my life. And I didn't know you didn't have to at that point. So I kind of fell into mortgage lending. I was someone's assistant. He was the #1 guy in the country for a bank called Washington Mutual, which no longer exists. They got bought out by Chase through the whole 2008 crash, but I worked for him for about a year, learned the language, and then kind of fell in love with it. So I ended up being a numbers guy, and I never knew it.
Nothing wrong with that. It turns out that if it's the right kind of numbers, maybe you weren't a math guy in school, but if there's the right kind of numbers, all of a sudden you'd start to like numbers quite a bit.
Absolutely. That seems how it worked out. Yeah, I was definitely not a math guy growing up, but what I love about what I do is the problem solution side of thing. Every single situation is different. So it works well for my ADD. Every day is going to be a new problem to solve for someone, which I love.
Absolutely. There's always something weird, always something you will see something new in real estate, in lending every day. It's amazing how that happens. So where did all the success come from for you?
It's hard. I kind of had it early on. And I think when you're passionate about something, things line up. For me, when I first got into the business, I was in wholesale. So mortgage advisors were my customers. So my job was to help them do more business and find marketing strategies and solve their problems. And I remember going to, the quote unquote platinum producer thing at the company I worked for at that time when I was 20 years old. And, everyone's like, let's go to the bar and get a drink. And I'm like, go get me one, because I'm not old enough. So it hit me early, but it was because once I realized that I loved these types of numbers, to your point, it was I just love it. And I think as soon as you have a passion for something, it's very easy to find success.
So I think that kind of ties in with our next question, which I think you've already given us the answer to, but maybe you have a different answer. What do you like best about what you do?
I love the problem solutions. I really love figuring out how to overcome problems for people, how to get them into the house, how to help them see something they may not have seen. I think we're all raised differently. I was raised with kind of a scarcity mindset and didn't understand the difference between scarcity and abundance because it was never taught to me. So when I talk to people and they have this mindset of this just won't happen for me, and then you show them ways to do it, it's kind of cliche, but it's very rewarding to help people like that. It means the world to me to do that.
Sure, to let people know that the impossible might actually be possible.
Right. And we just don't know because we were never taught it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's one of the big things that's not taught in this country is how money works, how borrowed money works, how lending, how leverage, how to take and make the most out of what you have. It's the kind of information I know for me, I had to go find it elsewhere because mainstream education has no intention of ever telling you that or explaining that to you. And I think the dirty little secret, Sean, is because they genuinely don't know themselves how it works. But don't let that get out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, the conspiracy theorist in me thinks it's, somewhat by design. It's, we're not taught anything about debt or leverage, except it is an absolute no brainer to put yourself in debt to go to college. It's immediate,
Absolutely.
right? 18 years old, go put yourself in debt to go to college because that's what you're supposed to do. And then we don't talk about how debts work. We just kind of made this acceptable and okay. So people get on that route, and then sometimes it bites them later. But to your point, there's no other financial literacy or education taught in school at all.
And so you remember when the whole housing crisis went on, they said that the thing that made the mortgage brokers and the realtors so evil was that they were letting people get into mortgages that they didn't understand. They were letting them buy homes they couldn't afford. Yet they do the exact same thing with college educations. They $160,000 for a PhD in ancient Sanskrit. Of course, we'll give you that money. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And, yet if you were to take and quiz that 18-year-old about to get ready to walk into there, what amortization is, they couldn't even tell you because they'd never been exposed. But you know what, Sean? It's not really a conspiracy. It really isn't, because I went back to college in my 30s and I checked, and it's not that the professors have some deep-seated desire to fund the lending programs. It's they genuinely don't know how money works themselves.
Yeah.
I walked out of my college my college time there with several of my professors as investors in my investment fund because they didn't know what to do with their own money. They're like, I got some savings. What do I do with it?
Yeah. It's broken. It's a broken system, but all we can do is help people kind of one person at a time, and hopefully I want people to figure out what it's taken me years to figure out.
Yeah.
That's really my goal, is to have, I'm 41 now. I want the next generation to learn in their 20s what I learned in my 30s and 40s.
Yeah, no, that would be to help them avoid the pain and suffering that we had to go through.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of times, like I'll take and donate time and go speak in high schools sometimes to try to help those kids. And it's always interesting to me, the level of apathy that exists on the way in. And, because it's not their money at this point.
Right.
None of it's their money. And it's not until it really becomes your money that it really becomes super important as to how this goes. But, you do reach some. And this one business group that we did recently, it was really great to see the light come on. Nothing better than saying to yourself, like, hey, look, this person just avoided 20 years of aggravation I had to go through. We just got them, much closer to the finish line. It's great stuff. So what do you think, Sean, makes you good at what you do?
I love overcoming adversity. I remember when I got into this business, I was talking to my dad about it. And he was like, I was telling him how much money my boss made. It was just numbers I'd never heard of in my life. And he was like, I know you think you could do that, but you can't. As soon as I heard that, I was like, I'm going to prove you wrong. So I think that mindset of I'm going to prove you wrong is really what drives me in just about everything. So that's where I think a lot of I keep saying problem solutions come from, but I'm really good at solving problems as a result of being told I can't do something.
And you know what? It's so interesting with all the coaching that goes on, how much sometimes, especially when it comes to, people are gonna hate me for this, but when it comes to guys, sometimes one of the best things you can tell them is, you know what? I just don't think he can cut it.
Yeah.
Because there's that little voice on the inside that says, oh yeah, I'll show you. And when I would coach the ladies, if you were to do the exact same thing, really, you don't think I can do it? Oh wow, as opposed to, there's a reason why drill sergeants sound the way they do. They're not caring nurturers, right?
No.
And
it doesn't move the needle. So it doesn't. We got to be pushed, so that just overcoming adversity is. I love it. It's like one of the best things. And an easy life isn't a fun life, right? You got to have challenges.
At the end of the day, for most guys, we need a hill to die on. We need a battle to fight. We need a war to wage in order to get us out of our sweats and into work and feeling like we're going to do something. And the ones that are usually successful is we learn to make our own battles. One of the stories I love to tell was I was a kid, and I say as a kid, I started working for my dad when I was like 9 years old. And so I guess I was maybe like 12, 13 years old. And we had to do this pancake breakfast on a Saturday morning at like 5 a.m. So 5 a.m. on a Saturday, you're talking about the last place in the universe I want to be.
Yeah.
And they tell me that I'm going to be making the pancakes. Now, I've never made a pancake in my life. And now I've got to make pancakes for God knows how many 100 guys that are just going to show up and have this all you can eat pancake fest. So they lock me in this tiny little room where they have the grill. And it's only like 2 foot wide by 3 that I got to work with. And they said, just start making pancakes, as fast as you can make them. And here you can get 6 pancakes on this griddle and you make them as fast as you can, whatever. So they leave me alone and they disappear. I'm just making the pancakes as fast as I can. And then I realized if I took and I slid the pancakes out a little bit, I could get 2 extra pancakes in the middle. So now I'm making 8 instead of 6. Now this is all going on in my head, right?
Yeah.
If I can get 8 out, I'm getting more yield and I won't get behind. Kept working on it. I got 12 pancakes on the griddle. If I just spread it out just so, and then I started messing with the heat to the point where as I got the last pancake dished out, the first one was ready to flip. So I'm going nonstop now. I'm banging pancakes out to the point where eventually 2 hours later, stop making pancakes. What have you been doing? But that was the battle I had. Because if I just sat there and had to ladle out 6 pancakes at a time, I'd been bored out of my mind. It would have sucked.
Yeah. Well, and you created a system that made you more efficient, right? Like you doubled efforts with the same tools.
Absolutely. But that had to become, I had to define the battle to have me motivated to be in the fight. Otherwise it was just like, go in, punch the time clock. I don't have an appetite for that. You lose me at that point. And so figuring out that edge that I need to have with myself, that make it some sort of a competition with myself to squeeze a little bit more out is kind of what I found. But what for you? What do you think creates that edge for you?
I think it's similar. I always say I look at things as why can't I? So I've never liked to do things the way they're done. I always say we have to question tradition. So when I started in mortgage, been in mortgage forever, but started helping home buyers just in 2017. So I've only been at it for about 5 years. Everyone's like, do it this way. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it the way everyone else does. But it works. I'm like, yeah, but I think I can do it better. Right. It's like, I want to be better using my own creativity. So it's always, why can't I do this? Mm-hmm. And so I try to act on those thoughts or ideas as often as possible and go with the gut. And I think that's where a lot of it has come from, is your gut is probably right 9 times out of 10. There's times I'm wrong, but I won't know unless I try. But going with my gut and trying things that I felt would be of more value to more people is really why I grew as fast as I did. Is always coming from a place of service, right? One thing that mortgage is big on is we're supposed to meet, call 40 realtors every Monday and set coffee appointments. It's like kind of like your pancake thing. Okay, so if I do 30-minute coffee appointments all day long for 8 hours, I can meet with 16 people a day. Well, what if I do a presentation and meet with 100 people and find ones I like? And now there's no cold call, there's no involvement there. And now we find the synergy and we meet with the ones that matter, right? Mm-hmm. So I'd rather meet with 100 people in an hour than try and meet with one person every 30 minutes, and that's 16 people a day. So kind of the same theory as your pancakes.
Sure. I mean, I think that, what you find is, and you tell me if it's the same. I know that it is here, but you're on the other side of the continent. I'm in Florida, Southeast Florida. You're in California, right? Mm-hmm. People do things the way they do things because that's how they've always done things. But the person that actually started doing things that way is long gone. And the reason why they've been doing it that way, nobody really remembers. It's just the way that they do it. And so there's a bit of a problem with that because the person that did it that way in the beginning was probably an innovator. He was the one that came up with, hey, let's do this. And why? Well, because of this, this, and this. But if you forget this, this, and this, you don't know that those reasons that worked and why it was a good thing haven't changed. If those things have changed, then the reason for doing it has largely diminished.
Yep. And
so questioning things, taking and finding the new ways to do things, figuring out the other way to skin the proverbial cat. Poor cat. That cat's always getting skinned.
No, that's why I say you question tradition. There's, to your point there, I just saw this last week. There was a study where they took, I forget how many monkeys put bananas on top of a ladder. And every time a monkey would climb up, try to get the bananas, they'd punish it, right? Mm-hmm. And so eventually all the original monkeys learned not to go after the banana. And then they'd put a new one in, and the new monkey would go after the bananas and the other monkeys would pull them down. And this went on until they got to a point where they didn't even have to introduce, just nobody went for the bananas anymore, but they didn't know why. So the new monkey comes in and goes, I want to eat the bananas, but we're not supposed to. But there was no reasoning behind it because nobody was getting beat anymore.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. And it's a thing, and it's part of the culture in real estate, and nobody wants to take it and upset the way things are done. And I'm a big believer in upsetting the apple cart. I'm a big believer in asking why we do it this way, and does that even make any sense as to why we do it that way? And
I was at my old company a couple companies ago. I guess it was 2017 or 18 when I first took on this role. The owner of that company, we pulled me aside in a meeting, and he's like, his wife owned the company with him. He's like, she says you're really disruptive. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, it wasn't supposed to be a compliment, but I was like, why do we do it like this? Like, why are you guys still doing this? This is how we've always done it. It doesn't mean you should keep doing it. It's not working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's people that definitely do not like that. And I mean, it's the tough part with being a disruptor is figuring out how to do it in such a way that helps everybody, pulls everybody forward. Because if you're the person that, is doing that in the middle of everything else, that's just more incoming for the people in charge. And so doing that in that way that helps bring everybody along, super important part of that stuff. So it's good to be a disruptor and to do it well and wisely. Good stuff, man. So what are the things that you've learned in the process of doing what you do? What is the biggest thing you've learned in the process of doing what you do?
That's a tough question to answer. I don't know how to, I guess for me, everything comes back to service. So I tell my colleagues that the sooner we all stop thinking ourselves as being salespeople, the better, because I don't know what I'm selling. But if you think of, I'm going to go out today and serve as many people as possible. It's the same goal, but a different way of looking at it that I think creates faster and better results. Like if you're in business to serve others, genuinely serve others, you're going to do well.
Sure. Because I mean, that's going to take and keep you aligned with what they really want. And that's going to make them want to do business with you going forward over and over and over again. And I mean, the benefit for you, and this is one of the crazy things. I mean, because your product that you're selling is really the same product that I'm selling. You're just helping to take and fund the product that I'm selling.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
We sell the greatest product in the universe.
Yes.
I mean, real estate is the greatest freaking product. I mean, people's lives are genuinely better, whether they realize it or not, because we do what we do. If we get you to buy real estate, odds are we just help you make the best decision of your life. I talk you into getting it. Sean gets you the money to do it. We probably just took and made you a significantly wealthier person than you would have been otherwise. You don't believe me? How much equity has everybody built from 2020 to 2022?
Right. The average, I think, well, it may be down a little bit now, but the average home in America had 42% equity as of like 6 months ago.
That's nuts.
It's a lot of money.
And
this is another thing I always tell people, if you went into business with someone and you're like, hey, I want to start a company with you, but I'll put up 95% of the money to start the company, and then you keep the upside. You keep all the upside to it. You just have to throw down 5%. It'd be the dumbest business decision anybody would make. Like, why would anyone do that? Why would you put up all the money and let me keep all the returns? That's what real estate is.
And Sean, you forgot one important part. With a long history of performance,
right?
That is the only time there's a hiccup in the performance is when the lending got way out of whack because the government decided that everybody should all of a sudden be able to get a loan. You want a loan, right. You get a loan. But
that's right.
As long as we maintained historical lending precedents, that real estate, I teach a class on inflation on what the real estate market looked like since since 1900. There's a reason why they make. Yeah, there's a reason.
I tell people the biggest driver of home appreciation is inflation, right? So it's like the example I always use is my grandparents. I remember when a candy bar cost a nickel, right? Mm-hmm. That's what they'd always say. But they bought their first home in Silicon Valley for $40,000. And everyone's like, they are so lucky. I'm like, a candy bar costs $2 now. If I kept candy bar from when they bought their first home, I'd get a 4,000% return on my money. Inflation drove the candy bar up. Inflation drove the value of their home up. So stop saying it's such a terrible thing. It's terrible for everything else, but it's not terrible for real estate.
Look, if you're long in real estate, you love inflation.
Absolutely.
Inflation. I have made so much money sitting on my ass doing nothing because all my real estate has done so well. I am always cash poor because I am the real estate investor ad nauseum. I am the poster child. When I get any money, I buy something else. I can't help myself. I'm a bit of an addict, right?
That's awesome.
It is, except then, like trying to figure out how to pay, you're going to pay the light bill, but you got $64 million worth of real estate, but you can't figure out how to pay the light bill this month. It's a thing, right? And so, recognizing that our product is good and does disproportionately well when there's inflation. I mean, the numbers just came out this past month that unexpectedly home sales are back up again. Everybody's waiting for the world to end.
Yeah.
The numbers do not lie. The total inflation from 1970 to 1980 was 103.45%. Total real estate appreciation, same period of time, with interest rates going from 7.6% to 16.67%, was 177.6%. Real estate not only kept pace with inflation, now paced inflation to the tune of over 70%.
Yeah, almost doubled it.
So there's a technical term for that we like to use in the industry, which is very sexy, because that's just freaking very sexy. I mean, where do you go? What else do you think the stock market's going to do that? The stock market is in the process of getting its ass handed to it, because if there is a recession, which the markers are that we're probably headed that way.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Revenues are what drives the share value of stocks. If there's a recession, what do you think is going to happen to revenues? Revenues are going to be down. When revenues are down, what do you think is going to happen to stock prices? People are going to miss their earnings projections. Stock prices are going to come down. Where do you want to be? Where are you going to put your money? Are interest rates high enough yet to buy T-bills? They are not. So look, I mean, I know it hurts people's feelings, but if we are actually going to get a handle on the inflation, interest rates are going to have to go significantly higher than they currently are. And
yeah, and I think, and what's interesting is I think we'll end up seeing mortgage rates go down next year. Like, we already got a little bit of a bump just because on November 10th, the inflation report, the CPI report came out, basically 1 month replaced another and made it look pretty. And we got a bump out of that. But I think we'll see lower rates. And that's what's going to be interesting, is everyone's waiting for this crash that's not coming. And then they're going to wait. And then next year, when people hear a 5 again, because they're accustomed to hearing 6 and 7 now, when they hear a 5, oh my gosh, you got to jump and buy real estate. And then they're going to push prices back up. Builders stop building. People who are sitting on rates at 2 and 3% aren't in a rush to sell, right? It's too expensive. So I'm just going to hold on to this thing forever now. So you're going to have an even bigger problem with inventory than we've already seen.
Well, I mean, and on the builder side, I'm a general contractor and builder in addition to being a realtor. I know that the cost to borrow money for me to take and actually finish my projects is higher, and B, my timelines for construction are much more up in the air because my supply chains I can't just go to Home Depot and get what I need. I mean, one of the best, like on an electrical project, there's like 50 different ways to get the electricity from here to here. Well, I've gone to Home Depot and, like any one of the 50 different ways, I need a certain bunch of parts to make that happen. And they don't have all the parts to get the power from here to here in any one of the 50 different ways that I could possibly do it. So like I have half the parts with this way, 3/4 of the parts this way, but I'm missing this one piece to do it this way. Like, what do I do? Yeah. And so if I have my debt service, if I have my mortgage payment running against that, that's coming directly out of my profits to complete that project. So as a builder, I'm sitting here saying, hey, look, guys, I'm going to wait for prices to go up some more so that my profits, I have to build a little more.
Got offset. Yeah. Yeah. Got offset. Yeah.
And so I think that's what you're seeing in this market, because the demand for single family homes is there. There are a lot of people that are desperate to buy single family homes, and the price per square foot isn't really that far out of whack of where people are buying. But the uncertainty and the cost of money are both working against that market to make it more expensive to do the exact same job. And so until that appreciation goes a little bit higher, I don't think builders are going to come back in a meaningful way. But I also anticipate that even if interest rates go up significantly higher, that home prices are still going to continue to go up because of the very reasons you talked about. In order for home prices to really come down in a meaningful way, we have to go to an oversupply situation. The only time you ever see home prices go down is when there's more homes available than there are people to buy them. Well, as it stands right now, we still have more approved buyers than we have available inventory. Yeah. And so what we're seeing is the market transition from a market where you had, what was your average time on market? 10 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
To now we're looking at closer to 2 months, 3 months in some markets, right? We call that normalcy. And now And now you're starting to see home prices and home transactions pick back up again. But
yeah, what I tell people is, when we reference the 80s or anything else, and no one wants to hear it, right? So I always compare to 2018. So it's like, look, take 2020, 2021, put those aside. Let's pretend those didn't exist, because that was that'll never happen again. You will not see a 30-year fixed in the twos ever again. You're like, well, what if we have another pandemic? They're not going to make the same mistake they made. Look at the inflation that came as a result of it. Lesson learned, right? Mm-hmm. So put those 2 years aside. What we're seeing is 2018, fourth quarter of 2018 again. Rates went up a little bit via fourth quarter 2018. Sellers who were holding out the highest price possible went, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get the highest price. They rushed to the market. So you had a little bit, I don't want to call it a surge, but you had more inventory come to market. At the same time, you have home buyers cool off. The buyers who bought in 2018 bought with a little bit higher price, or I'm sorry, higher interest rate, but they got a lower price. They got credits from the seller. They got a deal on the house. And then what do they do in 2019 and 2020? They refinanced. Right. So it's like that. This is no different. And that's what a lot of my buyers are doing. And I think some people are wiser to it. If you can get past the noise of the media has never said there's a good time to buy a house. No. Right. 2020, 2021, don't buy a house because you have to compete with everyone. You're paying way over ask.
Pandemic, you're going to walk in the house. You're going to get COVID if you go see a house. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So and in the meantime, you have JP Morgan buying up everything they possibly can to make sure everybody stays renters. So you got to pay attention, right? So it's like if you're not blinded by, you see the opportunity, and I'm still seeing multiple offers on a lot of homes. So there just isn't enough inventory. So this isn't an 08. You're not going to see it again. And the only thing that, is hard is seeing the people that are going to be like, damn, I wish I would have done something. Like I thought for sure I was going to be right, and I was wrong again. Absolutely. And that's who I really feel for.
Well, I mean, you look at the person that could have bought in 1970 and how much that home cost by 1980. Mm-hmm. How long did that person have to wait for home prices to be right? That home prices came down. 1991 was the first time home prices came down 0.3%. The next time home prices came down was 2008.
Yeah.
That's it. Those are the two big housing corrections in the U.S.'s history. And 2008 was 100% one that was created by creating artificial demand in the first place.
Absolutely.
And so if you look and ask yourself, are we creating that artificial demand today? The answer is no, we're not. It's nothing like that. The bent to give everybody a loan, the banks are much more restrictive than they were then with who they're giving loans to. They're very careful at who they're lending their money to. They've learned their lesson. At least
absolutely.
This generation.
Yep. And the buyers are smart. I think pre-08, at least in my market, there was a lot of go broke to look rich, right? Everyone's over leveraged, not only in their house, but in their credit cards and their car payments and everything else, because they wanted to look the part. And then you saw that dry up real quick. Now the buyers, at least that I work with, they're not trying to max out their debt to income ratio. Hey, the bank will let you borrow this much. Well, I only want half of that. I don't want to have a payment that big. So they're living well within their means. And I think that says a lot about it too, of just not only are the banks more restrictive, the mindset of the homeowners and buyers is they're more frugal and they're smarter with their money.
Sure. I mean, the thing for me is, as I think about it as an investor myself, like this is the kind of market where I want to take and broaden my exposure to real estate. So I'm actually being more aggressive in how much I'm borrowing, even at a higher interest rate, because it gives me the opportunity in an inflationary market to increase how much exposure I have to real estate, which is exactly where I want to be. I mean, if I could buy $3 million of real estate versus $2 million worth of real estate, well, if I think this is going to behave like most inflationary markets do, I'm going to see disproportional appreciation, which means I'm going to get to enjoy the appreciation on every dollar of that investment, regardless of whether it's my money or not. If I got $1 million in and I bought a $3 million property with $2 million worth of debt, I get appreciation on all 3 million, not the 1 million.
That's right.
And so, and plus I get the depreciation. In addition to the appreciation, I get the depreciation on the 3 million minus the land value. Yep. So, there's definitely some significant benefits. So that's always one of those things. Like I remember my brother came to me one day, and it wasn't my brother, it was his wife. My brother gets it. My brother's wife, she's not, she's more from, I don't want to put any names out there, but a very popular financial advisor that's very anti-debt. I'm not going to say names, Tim Ramsey, but she's like, well, we want to pay our college loans back faster. And why should we just take and keep investing with you? Well, I said, well, I was making you guys 26% on your money on an annualized basis. What was how much was the debt costing you? The average debt was like 5.5%. I'm
Yeah,
like,
21% return.
you're making money. If you give them that money back, you can't go back and borrow that money again, right? You're
Right.
not going to have access to that non-collateralized debt. Why wouldn't you keep the money out, earn the differential between the two rates of return, keep it for yourself, and then pay them back as slowly as you can?
Yeah, use that 21% net return to pay back if you want to get rid of it.
Absolutely. But I mean, in
Yeah.
a market like today, Sean, if I have a 30-year paper out of my house, even if it's at 7%, like we are today, or 6 and some change, I'm not paying that back any sooner than I absolutely have to, because I know the rate of inflation is devaluing that money as fast as it is. It's devaluing it faster than the interest rate. So as long as I'm in that position, why wouldn't I take and string that out as long as I possibly can and let that money itself become less valuable? It's going to represent less and less of my income as my income rises. And
Right.
I think that's an important part of it, that agents can't make the case. They don't understand inflation. It's one of the classes I love to teach, is the class on inflation, because it's such an important topic right now.
Yeah, and I think, and that's what I've just, obviously this is our first time chatting, but most agents don't go into this level of detail to understand, the depreciation side of things, like what your money can do for you and how leverage actually works. It's just, hey, get a mortgage, get pre-approved. That's kind of how you do it, right? That's the way it's always been done. So just go do it. But why am I doing it? Oh, well, here's all the reasons why you're doing it, right?
Well, I mean, let's be honest, right, Sean? It's unfortunate that the industry has almost become why should I do this? Because it gets me a commission. That's why you should do it. You should do it because it gets me paid. And agents focus so hard on getting the deal closed that they forget that it's a business about building a business. And the only way to build a business is to get customers that come back to you over and over and over again. The heart and soul of what I teach, it's the name of my book, is we close for life here. If I do a deal with you and you would ever work with any other agent that's not me, that's what failure looks like.
Yep.
I could get paid. I could earn the commission. I still fail because I'm not in this business to earn commissions. I'm in this business to build a business that earns commissions. It has customers that come back over and over and over again. Because guess what? I hate spending money on advertising. I love it when my people send people to me or come back. Nothing better than that. It's free. It means I don't have to even work as hard, but it means I have to leave that customer with a quality experience every time. I don't have my picture on my business card. My real business card is the experience they have left when they're done working with me. What was that like? That's what's going to make them come back.
Well, and it kind of goes to sales, not service. If I'm in this business to get a commission, I'm in sales. If I'm in it to serve others and explain how inflation works and how they can use leverage to maximize their income over time and why paying off this debt may not be the best answer, you're serving people, right? And you're helping be that financial guide that they haven't had otherwise. And what do people, when people buy a house, whatever you buy, they're going to tell the story, whether it's good or bad. So I want the story to always be a great story, because to your point, that's the best marketing I can use.
Period. End of story. And if your business is built on that, if your business is a business built on closing customers, you have your head set in the right place to actually do what we're talking about in the first place, which is to build a business. Anything short of that, you're not building a business. You're doing a job.
That's right.
And I'm not in this to be an employee. I'm in this to be the CEO. I'm in this to take and build something meaningful. So that's kind of, for me, that's the heart and soul of Close for Life, and where that comes from. The book that I just finished writing, that's what it's about.
Yeah, no, I love it.
I could tell that, from listening to you're saying the exact same things in a different way. And I love it, man. So let me ask you this, Sean, what makes you passionate about what you do, man?
I think it's everything we're talking about right now, is when you show people something they didn't see before. So kind of to your point, a quick story on this. So I had a guy call me one time, in his 20s, tech millionaire. He sold his company he built for 8 figures, I guess. And he was going to buy a $3 million home. And he's like, my financial advisor told me to call you. Do you think I should pay cash? This is his first home purchase. He's a first-time home buyer. He's buying a $3 million home. I go, well, look at it this way. If you pay cash, you take $3 million out of your investments and the value of the home goes up 10%. You made a 10% return on your initial investment. I'm like, if you put down 20% And so that's 600,000, and you borrow 2.4 and you leave the other 2.4 in the market. Now your money's multitasking and you make a 50% return on your initial investment. And this is a multi-millionaire, obviously a very smart guy. And it was just that small difference of, wait, so I'm going to double, not double in 2 years, double my money on my $600,000 down payment, assuming 10% appreciation. And then I got 2.4 and my advisor's earning me 10, 12, whatever percent that was. And how much this is, I would think that the worst thing for a financial advisor is someone saying I'm liquidating all of my funds to go pay cash for a house.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I mean,
so I love that, just that story. I've told that story, to so many buyers, because there's the guy, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to pay cash. We're not supposed to have debt. And, here's the guy that's the multi-millionaire. And most of my clients are first-time home buyers doing low down payment, and I'm kind of helping guide them through it. But that's what I'm passionate about, is the education that I can hear in your voice and just see in your face that you're passionate about as well. Like the passion you have on this is not going to be any different than how you would speak to your clients. Right. And so that drive of, I'm going to show you how inflation is going to make you rich, right? Absolutely. Through real estate. This is what we do. And that's what's fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's crazy because the place I like to come from with agents is, let me introduce you to something that you never really knew anything about. Let me introduce you to the product you're trying to sell people. Mm-hmm. Let me introduce you to real estate, because if you don't love real estate, there's really only one reason I can think of, which is that you just don't understand it well enough. Because if you understood it, you'd love it. Because that's why so many billionaires in this country own so much of it, because it's such a great thing. The tax code, the way it's written, the opportunities that exist there, the ability, the inexpensiveness of the money. One of the cheapest things to borrow against is real estate. There's not any other kind of debt you go out there to get is usually more expensive debt than that collateralized debt that you can get on real estate. And so the kind of margin you need to make as far as a rate of return can be significantly less and still have a positive leverage situation. The fact that the debt can be strung out over such long periods of time, there's just so many good things going for it. And the problem is the folks that go out there and sell it every day, they don't know either. They don't know what's good about their thing. They never even consider your side of the business and how that leverage works, more than to sit there and figure out whether or not you've gotten the paperwork where it needs to be in the timeline. That's the only thing. Are you going to close on time? That's the only thing.
Where's my pre-approval letter? That's it.
And unfortunately, considering the sums of money that we in real estate deal with, we need to do better. We need to do more. And we should. And our customers should demand more. They'd like to get more. And here's the crazy thing I can tell you from experience. If you give them more, they come back.
Yeah. And they tell all their friends. They tell all their friends, right?
Absolutely.
No, that's I'm doing I call it psychology of real estate. So I really think that everything we do is psychology. And I think the reason people are so scared of real estate, whether it's buying a home or investing, is they think it's this long-term, what if the value goes down, I'm losing money. And it's like, the stock market's easier to understand. In that moment of fear and panic, I can sell a stock like this, and then I'll regret it later, but at least it felt like I saved myself money. With real estate, it's a longer runway. Like I was talking to an agent, she asked me when I bought my house. So we bought another house last year, fought 20 people for it, overpaid, all of that nonsense. And she's like, when did you buy? I'm like, February last year. She's like, ooh, you bought at the height of the market. And I'm like, you're in real estate. One, that should not be your reaction, because my rate's 2.5%. I have a 5-year-old. I'm going to be here 15 years. I'm not worried about what the value is in 2023 or 25. I could care less, because I'm not going anywhere. And shoot, maybe I never sell it, right? Why? I can pull money out of it, right? I can equity line and get money tax-free. The mindset just isn't there. And that was a conversation with a real estate agent, right? I'm like, you're the one serving people. And if you have that mindset, how are you going to serve others?
No idea how it works. Because here's the crazy thing. Almost everybody, when they buy their house, they're in a negative position, because you know what, if you wanted to go sell it tomorrow, but you paid closing costs on the way in, you're going to pay closing costs on the way out, you're negative. You're selling, when you buy real estate, you're buying time. You're buying something that you're not going to see the full value of it until time has elapsed. That time is what makes this into a good investment. So if you're sitting here saying, hey, look, your timing wasn't the best, and maybe you're gonna have to wait a little longer for it to be a positive equity situation, Okay, but that's nothing different than what you sell every single day, agent. Most
Yeah.
agents don't know that.
Right. And that's why I call it psychology of real estate. And I just sent out an invite. I'm going to do a class, a live in-person class here in the Bay Area next month. And it's the conversation I'm having with agents where I was in a meeting with the team I work with, and I absolutely love them. And I'm like, what are you guys hearing from your clients? I can't solve problems if I don't know what the problems are. So what are you guys hearing from your clients? Oh, mine are all waiting for rates to go down. Did you ask them why? No. Why not? Well, what do you mean? Of course, if the rates go down, then their payments are lower. So of course, that's what they're saying. I'm like, but we could solve that problem now. We could use a seller credit to get their rate down. We could do a buy down. Like we could solve that problem now. And what do you think is going to happen to real estate values when rates go down? If they wait, well, price will be higher. So we can't just, you could be an order taker 2020, 2021, but if you're not solving people's problems today, you kind of are the problem.
I love the phrase order taker. I use it all the time. I'm like, hey, look, if you're just going to sit here and say 3 bedrooms, okay, 2 baths, we already have a special on a half bath. Would you like a half bath with that? They got an opening at IHOP. They're looking for servers there. I mean, just get your notepad and go over there. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right? You have a great product. Understanding that product, understanding how it works, and understanding all the incredible wealth that gets built with this stuff. So what drives me nuts when I see agents that are renters. It's amazing to me the disproportional number of agents that don't own, and they literally are treating it like it's the cocaine business, like they're trying not to get high on their own supply.
Right.
You're supposed to. Why make everybody else rich?
Yeah.
Get in there.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at, I don't know. This is one of those, why didn't I think of this sooner things? My oldest son just went to college. He's down in LA. And I just was sitting in a meeting one day and I was like, wait a second, why am I paying for I'm paying for his apartment down there, which isn't cheap. He just started getting his credit established. We're going to buy a 4-unit property. He'll occupy 1 unit. We do 3.5% down on FHA. My son at 19 years old will own real estate. We're building wealth together. We're partners, and he's going to understand something in his, he'll be 20 by then. He'll understand something at 20 that I didn't think of until, my late 30s.
Yep.
And then I'll rinse and repeat with my other kid in 5 years. And so it's like I could own 9 units just by, not paying college housing and having other students pay it for us.
Love it, man. Absolutely. And in a market where it's the ideal product to have.
Yeah.
College business isn't going any place anytime soon, I don't think.
That's right.
So let me ask you this, Sean, a little bit of a change of pace. What are you most proud of in business that you've accomplished?
We've done a lot with a little. So we helped about 400 people last year. We did 220 million in volume, and it's not a big team. So mortgage, it's always the team, even real estate, the so-and-so team, this team, that team. Even if it's one person, they're still a team somehow. My team is my sister and I. That's it. And we did a lot of volume with just the two of us by being really efficient and focused. And I'm really proud of what we've accomplished.
And so let me flip it on a little bit. What are you most proud of in life? Oh, the personal side.
I think what I'm most proud of in life is going from that scarcity, I don't want this, I don't want that mindset. The universe can't help you unless you say what you want. And I just remember there's one day, and I think this is why 2017 to now, my life changed dramatically in so many different ways. And it's because I got rid of the chip on my shoulder and the negativity of, I don't want this, I don't want that, but I never identified what I did want. And as soon as I sat down and thought about what I actually wanted out of life, it all started to come together. And I've been a happier, better person to my kids. I was really negative, I think, early on, and I don't have that chip anymore. And that's what I'm proud of in life.
Awesome. No, progress on the road is always something to be proud of. What would you give if you had to give one piece of advice to our listeners? What would it be?
Serve others. Figure out a way to help other people. Like, that's what I think everything comes down to. I don't care what you do. As long as you're helping other people get to a better place, you're doing the right thing.
Okay. Good stuff. I completely agree. If you had to recommend just one book, what would it be?
The Alchemist.
The Alchemist.
I always start with The Alchemist. Yeah, that's
stuff.
my kind of go-to from a mindset perspective. There's another book that I really like, even though I could only have one. It's called The Way We Work Isn't Working. And it talks about, basically we're taught to focus on time management when this teaches us how to focus on energy management.
All right. Good stuff. So it seems like you're a guy that's hustling. You got stuff going on. Got a few plates on the fryer, right?
Try to.
What's next for you? What's the next project you're working on? The next big thing that's in the offing?
Yeah. So no, it's a good question. I'm going to be coaching mortgage advisors. I want to teach mortgage advisors how to gain success as fast as I did and kind of find their own path. So don't do it my way. Figure out who you are, who you want to serve, and build a business off of that. I really love that you said you're focusing on building a business, because I think most of us that get into real estate, sales, or mortgage, you fall into it. You didn't go to school for it, but you're not building a business. You're just going day to day looking for the next deal. And so the sooner we think of it as I am actually running a business, that's when all the changes come together.
Good stuff. That makes sense. So let's go behind the curtain, peel it back a little bit. Last two questions here. What do you do to unwind?
I like rock climbing and free diving. So I like sports that focus me to be in the moment where I can't think of anything else. So those are the two things I try to do. I don't really watch a lot of TV. Really big on morning routines, but to unwind, it's go do something where my mind has to be removed from this.
All right, good stuff. Last question. You survived. Where can people find you, Sean?
I'm on Instagram, Adventure Lender. You could just, basically anywhere on the internet. If you Google my name, I'll show up somewhere.
All right. Just Google the man. That's some confidence right there. Just Google me. I'll
Google
be
Sean Herrero, I'll show up.
All right. Good stuff, Sean. Thank you for your
Josh.
time, buddy. It was fun hanging out with you and getting a chance to chat about all this stuff. So let me
You
go
too.
ahead. Yeah. Thank you for being here, man.
No, my pleasure. Thanks again.